Let's welcome to Totally German Radio, the one, the only, Miss Cherie Currie. Cherie, how are you doing?
Well, hey guys, how you doing?
I'm doing incredible, and I've been waiting to talk to you.
I was enjoying your conversation, but I missed the movie you were talking about.
50 Shades of Grey.
Oh my goodness, I want to see that.
But don't you think? Did you read the book?
You know what? I actually just got it from my mother, and I sticky fingered it. My mom, God bless her, has Alzheimer's, and we were going through stuff, and here she had that book all bookmarked up, and so I kind of sticky fingered it, and it's sitting in right beside my bed for when I got time to start reading.
Wow.
I hear it's a book. Yeah, I haven't read it, but I know that about everybody has.
Don't you think that? I just think that the way the book goes, they just can't put that in film and have. And my co-host Frank here is saying it's going to be like a PG-13 rating. I don't know how they're going to get away with that.
Well, nowadays, what would have considered being X is PG-13, in my opinion. Growing up in the the 70s, I mean, we had the Brady Bunch and Andy Griffith, and we liked it. So, I mean,
yeah.
So things have changed. Things have changed. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And a lot of things have changed with you.
Yeah, things are pretty great. I'm having a ball.
So you're out touring. You did I guess you did the West Coast for a little bit, and now you're getting ready to come over to the East Coast.
Yeah,
and
I did the West as well. Yeah, I've been jumping around and really having some fun times with the Runaways fans, and just having a great time with my band out there. So yeah, we come out. Our first show is at the Gramercy on the 6th of November, and I don't have my roster in front of me, but it's going to be grueling. 5 days on, 1 day off, 5 days on, and so it'll be a 10-day tour.
Now,
actually 7. Yeah.
I mean, you really haven't done any touring like this, like you've done in the past year. Have you, at all lately? Have you?
I haven't done any since the Runaways, really.
Right. So, what made you finally want to get back out there on stage?
Well, when the movie came out, I mean, I've continued to sing, and I've written songs and gone in the studio and all that kind of stuff, and I've guested a lot on people's albums and jumped on stage here and there, and so I thought, why not? I mean, it's something that I feel I was born to do. It's a lot easier for me to get on a stage than to go into the supermarket or have to go into one of these Hollywood parties, I'll tell you that much. It's just something that is really easy for me. So I just thought, you know what, well, my son is a great musician. He's in my band, and I thought, why not? So I opened for Joan Jett in 2010 to a sold-out crowd, about 9,000 people over in a Pacific Amphitheater in Orange County, and I got amazing reviews. I actually was voted Best Live Performance of the Year and was immediately offered a record deal, and Matt Sorum, who was playing with me, he produced the record, and that one is still yet to come out, but I just am finishing up a record with, believe it or not, Kim Fowley.
Really?
Yeah, and Lita jumped in on a couple songs, and Lita and I have been having a great time. We finally have been able to spend time together, which we never got to do when we were kids. And she's a mom as well, and so we just have so much in common, and we both really are enjoying this friendship that we have. I feel very blessed. And she just presented me with the prestigious Rock Legend Award at the Malibu Music Awards this last Saturday, and it was a tearful, wonderful experience to have her stand on stage with me and us do Cherry Bomb together, which had been a dream of mine, a dream for 3 decades.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just been incredible. It's just happiness all around.
I'll tell you, and I was just going to say, like, you've been posting a lot of pictures of you and Lita on your Facebook page, and in every picture, the both of you just look so happy to be back together.
Yes, and she's writing a book right now for HarperCollins, and it's because Lita was a tough girl, and I mean she'll be the first one to tell you that. And I came from a family of, I ran from any confrontation. I just didn't want it, so I was scared of her. And also, not only that, here I've got Sandy West, Lita Ford, and Joan Jett, who I just really thought were amazing musicians. And here I am, this 15, 16-year-old girl with this very unusually low, odd voice. I'd never professionally sang before I got into this band, and I really felt like I was undeserving of being there. So, and also being 16, you're just starting, your body's changing, you're starting to become a young woman, and the hormones are going, and it's just a crazy time to be thrown out in front of thousands of people, and there's always that insecurity, you know what I mean, especially when you're young.
It was. I was actually thinking about this today, like as I was preparing for the interview, going through all this stuff about you and everything, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, when you first joined the Runaways, you were 15, and I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I was trying to picture my daughter in the situations that you were in. And I was just like, there's no way in hell I could see my 15-year-old daughter doing what you did.
Well,
and going through what you went through.
Yeah, when my son was 15, he picked up a guitar at 13, and actually his cousin is Trevor Lukather. Steve Lukather and my sister Cherie Currie, they had 2 kids, and Trevor Lukather had a band at the time, and Jake was just turning 16, and he wanted Jake to go maybe on the road and do a few shows with him, and I said, well, how would you like your no, fast or slow? There was no way. But what's so great is that Jake being on the road with me, I mean, he's learned how to be a tour manager. I mean, he's learned so much about how the road works. I didn't know. It'd been so long for me. How could I even remember any of this stuff? And now I've been my own manager as well since I left Blackheart back in March. So it's been, and there's one thing I never wanted anything to do with was the business aspect of it, but I had to and really get involved in doing this. And it's so funny, guys, because I really don't know exactly why I'm doing this. Just like when I picked up a chainsaw for the first time, I didn't know why, but I knew I had to. And that's the thing. I'm not doing this to become some star or to have some big hit record. I don't know what it is, but it's something I have to do, and nothing can stop me from doing it. And I know in the end,
you had to miss it, though.
Huh?
You had to miss doing it.
You know what? I did enjoy doing it with Sandy when she was alive. I mean, we would do shows here and there, but, being on the road and all that, no, I didn't miss that because that had been pretty trying for all of us as
Sure.
And we had no money, having to grovel to the roadie for $5 or $2 for Tampax and cigarettes or whatever we needed, or a hamburger,
Right.
It was, and we were homesick, and it was kind of not the best. Believe me, it wasn't what you would imagine it to be. When you're vulnerable and you're that young and you're away from home, thousands of miles from home, all over the world, and you don't have anybody to turn to except your 16-year-old bandmates, it can be pretty vulnerable and scary.
Yeah, I mean, how, like, your parents, and not just yours, but the other girls' parents, like, were they okay with just you guys going and doing this whole thing?
Well, they had to be. Now, my mother was just remarried and moved to Indonesia with my younger brother, Don, and Marie, of course, stayed, and we moved in with my dad and my aunt and my grandma in a 3-bedroom house. And, the parents, we had a record deal. I mean, this was the real deal.
Right.
What are they going to do? Turn around and say no? I mean, they knew we were being ripped off. They knew something was wrong because we didn't have any money. But, and especially now with me seeing how this machine of touring works, somebody was making some serious money. It's just we were the only ones that weren't, and they had to keep us going. We never had a break. I mean, if we weren't in the studio recording a record, we were out on the road. Either it was, the U.S., Japan, or Europe. They just kept us moving, and we were tired. We were tired and confused and exhausted. So after 2.5 years, And that's
do you think, like in the 70s, I'm going to relate you guys to KISS now, and you just said, like, it was nonstop, recording, touring, back, and KISS was the same way. It was like, they would do a couple albums a year and nonstop touring, but today you would never see nothing really like that.
No, I don't even know how the business works today, but, KISS, even, Cheap Trick, they were our road buddies. Wonderful guys, and Tom Petty and all them. I mean, you got out there. It's so different. There wasn't YouTube. There was Midnight Special, or television, rare television, and there wasn't any other way to sell a band if you weren't on tour, hitting the college radio stations and the mainstream radio if you could do it. And that was the way you sold records, that and the magazines. And, you just didn't have the kind of technology today, period. You had to get out there and you had to make it happen.
Yeah. Now, when you were, I guess, writing the book, did you discuss things with Joan at all, or Lita or anybody when you were writing the book?
You know what? I did for the second one. I had lost touch with Joan for my first book, which was a young adult book. And so, there was a lot of editing in that with stories they did not want me to tell, or I had to really, sugarcoat them quite a bit. And I can understand why, because there's some pretty heavy stuff in that young adult book. But the new book, of course, I mean, I talked with Lita, Jackie, and of course told them my side of what because no two people have the same story,
right?
And they, I actually sent them some chapters in which they okayed, or and I'll never forget Lita. There was one scene at the Starwood, and she had reached into her purse to grab some aspirin because I had menstrual cramps or something, and she asked me, she goes, just change it from purse to gig bag. Of course I did. But, it's great to be around Lita now with her writing her book, because, we really did not spend much time together because I was afraid of her, and and plus I was being torn in all different kinds of directions with our manager, Scott Anderson, who was manipulating me and all this kind of stuff, and she remembers things that I had chosen to forget, but anyway, yes, I did reach out when I could, and but again, a lot of that book didn't really focus solely on the Runaways.
Yeah, you had a lot going on in your life.
Yeah, some crazy stuff. Some crazy stuff happened, but I learned from all of it, and my kid, and you being a dad, I mean, I learned from Jake being just a toddler. I trusted that he would understand, the perils out there. So I think I kind of put the fear of God into him as young as he could understand that, the world wasn't all, fun and games. And, because the one thing is, I remember one mother turning and saying that she thought I was a terrible mother scaring my child like that. And I said, well, I'll have my son when he's 16, will you? And Jake grew up to be such an easygoing young man, and he's very aware of his surroundings, and he turned out really good. So.
Now, how old is your son now?
Yeah, he's 22. He'll be 23 in February.
Okay. So,
and of course,
what's his point of view of all this? Like, I'm sure as he was younger, he didn't realize like the full extent of like who his mom is. I mean, after the book came out and the movie, and what did he think of all this stuff that you've been through?
Well, you know what? I was married. His dad is Robert Hayes, the actor.
Right.
Airplane, the greatest ex-husband in the world is what I call him. He's my best friend. I love him so much. And so Jake, was raised with Kent McCord being his godfather and Donna Pescow his godmother, and Bob,
oh, okay.
In that, so his dad was the star. I never even brought up anything. I mean, whether I had been an actress. I don't even think Jake saw Foxes until just a couple of years ago. It was all about supporting his dad and his great talent. But, as Jake got into music, he's picked up a guitar at 13, and I decided that I was going to really help him, get out there in the music world. And his first, I had him play guitar for me. I went on a Steve Jones radio show, Jonesy's Jukebox out here, and Jake and Steve played a few Runaways songs, live acoustic on the radio when
cool.
Jake was 13, and he was really a good player. Jake is now he's actually going to be drumming for me for this November stint. He's usually playing guitar up front, but he just wants to drum on this one. So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a really, really. I've never heard him raise his voice. I think he's an alien. I don't know. He's from outer space. He's never said a bad thing about anyone, and he's never raised his voice. So, except sing, he can sing real well.
The funny thing is, this weekend in North Jersey is the big Cherie Theater convention, and your ex-husband's going to be there.
Where?
At Cherie Theater convention.
Bob just called me just 10 minutes ago. He was sitting with Jill Sholin, who was the star of Rich Girl, which was a movie I had done right when I had met Bob. And, this is his first time at Schiller, and I'm thrilled because Kevin, who founded it, is a very dear friend of mine. And, Bob he just called me from there. He's having a great time. That's
funny. Yeah, I'm going to go up there on Saturday. That's funny.
Go up to him and say that you, because I told Bob that I had an interview with you. So just tell him, hey, talk to Bob later. I'll tell him to expect to say hi to you.
I will. I will definitely stop by. That's funny.
Bob is.
All right.
He really
Here's
is.
The question. I got to ask you, because I'm not talking to Lita, but the first time I saw the movie, I said to myself, wow. They really portrayed Lita like a real bitch in this movie. Was she really like that to deal with at all times?
Lita was tough, and she had to be tough. Again, I really wish Lita would have been more involved in this film, and unfortunately, her now ex-husband was the one that got his hands on that contract and led her astray and made her think that she wasn't being offered anything for her life rights, which is such a lie. But she was tough, and she knows it. But she was great too. She was great on stage, and I think she sure toughened me up because I wanted to be a lot more like her instead of kind of this scared girl that I really was inside. Yeah.
Now, how about when you first met Joan and Kim Fowley? What were your initial thoughts? You had to think to yourself, first of all, Kim was kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. But, I'd also heard a lot of rumors going around about this band, the Runaways, and that they were an all-girl teenage group. And Kim walked in like he still does today, even though he's in a wheelchair. He just had this air about him that he still possesses today. He definitely is there with a purpose, no matter where he is. And I could feel that. And, of course, Joan being there, I was really excited. I just, seen my first David Bowie concert several months before that and kind of had an epiphany in the audience. I mean, I just felt like this was something I was supposed to do, is to be on a stage. And, wasn't that much later, to where I met them, and they just liked my look. And they asked if I could sing or play an instrument, and I said I could sing a little, and I went and auditioned, and boom, I was in the band.
Now, is that like in the movie where it shows like the trailer? Is that how it was? Like a little trailer in the middle of the woods somewhere?
It was a trailer. No, it was actually on Cahuenga Boulevard in Studio City, and it was a single wide. Disgusting. It wasn't like on wheels or anything, but it was a disgusting, gross trailer. But that was where we would rehearse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when you first got...
that's where Denny Rosenkrantz came and watched us play just maybe a week or two after we had fully banned with Jackie. He came to see us, and that's when he signed us right away.
Wow. That's just amazing. Now, how about when you first got with them, was Mickey Steele from the Bangles still with them, or was she gone already?
Yeah, she was gone. I actually came in to replace her. I believe that, Mercury Records was interested in the whole idea of the Runaways and really wanted. Denny Rosenkrantz believed in Kim's vision, but he just didn't think that Mickey was the right person to front the band. So, so Jackie and I came in as her replacement. I'm so glad she, has success in the Bangles because she's a great player.
Now, that was something I wanted to say, too. Like, what were your feelings going through time like in the 80s where you saw Joan or Lita and even Mickey like rise to success, whether it was their by themselves with their solo bands or Mickey with the Bangles, and where were you? Like, what were you thinking as you were going through everything in your life?
Wow, well, at that time it wasn't easy. I'm not going to turn around and say it was because, I'd given it a shot with my twin sister with Capitol, which didn't work out well. My sister walked away, after we had spent a lot of money on a record and decided she was going to marry Steve and that they were going to live happily ever after. And I was kind of left holding the bag and ended up getting dropped from that label. And so I was a little bit bitter. But I had a major drug problem.
Right.
And after the Capitol debacle where I was dropped from that label, I got deep into drugs, and I needed help. So in 1984, I got that help, and then eventually became a drug counselor for adolescent kids, and became a fitness trainer, and wrote my book for HarperCollins. I became an artist, and then I got married and had our son. So I'm at that time was feeling like, gosh, Rita didn't even sing in the Runaways. Why does she have a hit song singing? I mean, you go through those questions, especially when your life is falling apart, as mine was. But I would not have my son, and I would not have my wonderful ex-husband had I really, it was all meant to be, obviously, because too many great things happened in my life because I wasn't in the business, that I just have no doubt in my mind that everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen, and now I absolutely know what I want and who I am. What I want as far as getting out there and not playing for money. It isn't about money at all. Like I said, I just don't know. There is something
to have fun.
Yeah, to have fun and to enjoy this last leg of my life. and not take things seriously, not so seriously, but protect myself from the vicious music people out there. You have all the people that want to rip you off, and they haven't gone away yet. They're always
I'm
going to be
sure.
there. But also,
I'm sure.
my son continue in music. He will do what I was unable to do. So I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled with all of it. And also, I have to say, when you take responsibility in your life for things that went wrong, it changes. It changes you spiritually, and it changes your outlook on life, and all that bitterness goes away, and then it just lightens you up, and so I could just say that I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky, and I wouldn't change a thing.
That's good though. I mean, I can kind of relate because I used to do pro wrestling and had some mild success with it, and then it was like when I kind of left the wrestling business and I saw other people who I was in there from day one with go on to have huge success and be on TV and become a star and the big paychecks and all. I got very bitter and jealous, and like now in my life, 10 years later or 15 years later, I look at it and say, you know what, it wasn't meant to be, and I'm kind of happy that I didn't end up in that place because I don't think it would have been a good thing. I'm quite happier the way my life turned out, being a family man and doing what I'm doing and having my little success here and there with the little things I do.
Right on. I mean, absolutely. And the fact I'm a chainsaw carver, and I think I've always been like a woodswoman. I've always loved, and probably still will end up in a cabin somewhere in the mountains one day. I was never one of those people that enjoyed the entourage and all this kind of stuff. I'm such a loner. And I live alone with my two wonderful dogs, and I carve at home, and I've I guess I don't know, but I'm glad you can relate, and I agree with you. And it's really having just absolute faith that you're in the right place at the right time all the time.
Right.
Because that jealousy and that feeling that you're not good enough and all that kind of stuff will really take the wind out of your sails sometimes for good. And I just believe that there's always that big plan for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust that. And it's right. I mean, who knows? You wouldn't have your child or children. You've got two?
Yeah, 3 actually.
3, wow.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? You could have gotten, kicked in the nuts and not had one.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Oh, that's funny. Don't apologize. Going back to the Runaways, you guys were always referred to as jailbait in everything. It was always jailbait. Did you get tired of hearing that?
Well, that wasn't us that came up with that. That was the people trying to sell the band, and
Sure.
That was the promo machine. How do you really market 15, 16, 17-year-old girls out there kicking ass, really? But to come up with some kind of title that wasn't Queens of Noise and it was Jailbait Rock. We never paid attention to that, even though, it was the truth.
Right.
We were jailbait. But anyone that came to our shows, there was always something. If they didn't like the songs, they were going to like the stage performance. I mean, everybody walked out. A lot of people gave us some pretty scathing, ugly reviews, but they were always problem children anyway. Those,
right.
they always had like the reputation of just giving just crappy, mean reviews, like some of these kids you see on Facebook that just want to get on there and just tell you you're a horrible person for no reason. Of course, they do it behind fake names and profile pictures.
Right.
But we were real young, and it was what it was.
It was what it was. Did you feel like you were being pimped out at times?
Well, yeah. yes and no. I mean, the one time, if you read my book, I actually felt like I was one time. I don't want to go into that right now, but
Right.
But we were used to make money, and we never got an accounting. We never knew how much money this band made. We were thrown tiny little scraps just to keep us going, and you know, to this day, I still have no clue how much money that band made. But we did sue Kim Fowley and Polygram Records 17 years ago, and for the name and for royalties that would come afterwards. So,
how about your parents or the other girl's parents? What did they think of Kim?
Oh, none of the parents like Kim. He's used to that.
I'm sure.
He did make our parents feel. I mean, he was strange looking, but he's been a great salesman. He's a great salesman on himself, and basically, you know, he said, "Look, I'm going to make these girls stars," and he came very close to doing that. But unfortunately, you know, he was pitting us against each other so often. For his reasoning was so that we would have an edge on stage, that it backfired in everybody's faces when Jackie left and then I left, right before he feels mainly that we were just on the cusp of really breaking through. And he's shed tears in front of me and Lita about that, you know. And he had his hands full with, you know, 5 very young teenage girls, and he wasn't a father. He had been adopted and, well, not adopted, excuse me. He was basically put in the foster child system and abandoned by his parents, and so he had a crappy childhood, and that's why, you know, he was so good at he's still good at what he does. Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to look back at the whys of, you know, why people act the way they act, and I have a real fondness for Kim, and I always tell him, look, you know, we always love our abusers. We're so sick, but but the thing is I do, and now that he's been so ill, and you know, working with him again in the studio has been absolutely fantastic, and I still love him. I still do, even though ripped us off, you know, now he's sorry, and he's making good for anything that he knows he did wrong. And hey, you gotta appreciate and respect that.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty impressive. I mean, like you said, if he admitted to you, but now he's trying to make up for what he did. I mean, that's somebody who I guess deep down does have a heart.
You're right, absolutely. Yes, he does. And I just love having him in the studio. My son working with him has just been an amazing learning experience for him. In fact, Jake says it'll change his writing style forever, because Kim can just come up with lyrics, I mean, flawlessly, from just sitting and talking to you for 10 minutes. You know, he says, okay, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and he just recites an entire song. And he does it flawlessly, never going back to change anything. And you could go right in the studio, just put some music to it and record it, and it's good. The guy's a talented man, you know.
Now, you just recently did a duet with Danzig?
I did, yes. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be coming out. It was I think he could be having, he rewrote some lyrics I don't think the family's too happy with. But, yeah, Some Velvet Morning, we did that. And it was great working with Glenn. And then for him to reach out and ask me to open for him at the Universal Amphitheater, same place I'd seen Bowie in '74, and they've torn it down now. I literally got on that stage and opened for him just weeks before they tore it down.
Wow.
Grateful for that. But working with Glenn was great. He's a terrific producer. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows just what he wants from you. And I refuse to look at Glenn's past. I heard he was an iconic, legendary metal rocker, but I had never really been into metal. So when, even though my management at the time was urging me to Google him, and I said no, because then I'm going to be intimidated when I go in that studio. To me, he's just a guy named Glenn, and
right.
I gave him a great performance, and we had a great time at Universal, and we've become friends. I really think he's terrific. Did
you Google him after you performed with him?
After I did the session with him, then I did, yeah. but I don't beforehand.
That's
funny. To me, everybody is the same. We're all the same. But hey, I can get starstruck like everybody else. Even at my age, I can still get starstruck, but it doesn't happen often, I will say.
Now, how about you went into acting after you left the Runaways?
I'm sorry?
You went into acting after you left the Runaways.
Right. Yes, I did.
How did that happen?
Well, I was playing the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, and Dennis Brody, who was an agent for William Morris, was at the show, and he walked up to me, and this was after I'd left the Runaways, and he said, "Have you ever thought of acting?" And I said, "Well, I consider myself a entertainer, so why not?" And he started sending me out, and Fox's was the second thing I went out on. And also the first one that I went out on was Rock and Roll High School, I believe, and they had offered me that role as well. But I really wanted to work with Jody. And it just, it was an amazing experience, scary as hell, to be in, on a set with someone like Jody, who was such a seasoned pro. And, and Sally Kellerman and Scott Baio, who had been around for quite some time at that time. And, so it was another fear thing. I mean, you just have to kind of let that go. That's kind of why I love the chainsaw so much, is because that was a big fear that I really had to get over.
You're a chainsaw artist now. I look at you, and it's kind of hard to picture you holding a chainsaw, let alone carving these beautiful statues that you do.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I've been doing it now full-time for 12 years, and I competed in 2005, and I placed in 2 of those competitions, and it's something that I really love. I haven't had time to do it for the last few months because I've been so busy with the other stuff, but it's something I'll continue to do for as long as I can lift a saw.
Now, the way you came across this was you just happened to be driving down the street and you saw somebody doing it?
Mhm. That's right. And I just I didn't stop, but I couldn't get it out of my head. And that little voice in your head that tells you whether to turn left or right, or just that intuition type voice. Just every morning I would wake up, it would say, "You have to go back." And finally I did. Like within 2 weeks, I went back and brought some of my artwork, and I walked into that gallery and I was stunned because I really, you think of chainsaw art as these crude kind of squared cuts you don't picture it the way, a lot of artists do it, which is just beautiful, gorgeous flowing lines and well sanded and detailed to perfection. And that's what was in this gallery, and that little voice said, "You can do this." And I did. I asked the owner if I could kind of apprentice there, and he said sure, after he looked at some of my relief carving. And my third piece was accepted into the Malibu Art Expo, which is really hard to get into. And that was 3 sea turtles swimming around a piece of coral. And I went, wow, I'm onto something. Of course, I had my entire family against it. They thought I'd be cutting a limb off or something. I don't blame them. But I always have a very healthy respect and fear for that machine. But I love doing it. Really love doing it.
Did you ever handle a chainsaw before you started doing this?
Nope. I'd only handled a Dremel tool, and that scared me too. That was what I did. That was what I was doing right before I started the chainsaw carving, was just, using a Dremel to do relief carving. That was scary. No, never held any kind of power tool. Now I've got all of them. In fact, my wonderful ex-husband gave me a whole set of power tools for Christmas.
How about that?
It's really cool.
Now, you got to look back. I mean, whenever you're feeling down about yourself, you got to think to yourself, like, I went out to become a musician and a singer, and within a few weeks I was signed to a major label. I went out to become an actress, and after my second read, I became an actress and was in a movie. I wanted to become a chainsaw artist. I became a chainsaw artist. I wanted to write a book. I wrote a book, and then they make it into a movie. You got to feel like deep down you're something special. You have a definite it factor to you. So don't ever think negative about yourself.
Oh, you are so sweet. I love you for that. And you know what? The thing is like we were talking about your career as a pro wrestler and things like. I mean, you know, we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do, and as long as we listen to ourselves, listen to that voice, you know, because anytime we don't listen to that voice, you know, something very bad goes down, you know,
right.
Something goes wrong, and
right.
You know, to be honest with you, I could never live the life Joan has lived, being on the road for 30 years and be childless, and I could never have done that. So, you know, I am so blessed to have my kid on the road with me now.
Sure.
I mean, fun. I mean, it is absolutely the best scenario I ever could have hoped for, and more. And am I going to see you at any of the shows?
You're coming to Philly, and actually the place that you're playing, the Barbary in Philly, I used to be in a punk rock band here in Philly called the Dead Gerber Babies, and we played there like 20 years ago. It's a cool place, a real cool place. I haven't been there probably since we played there.
Wow. Well, I hope I get to see you, but I want to tell you, I don't know if you're aware of the Christmas single that Lita and I did together. That's going to be out in December. That we do a duet, and she wrote a kick-butt Christmas single called Rock This Christmas Down, and that was the first time I'd worked with Lita, you know, in 37 years, is it now?
Wow.
So just some really wonderful, it's going to be a great Christmas, you know. Life is good, and I'm so happy for you. 3 kids, good for you. And
hey, I'm happy for you.
You got a great voice, and you're a really talented personality. So I've really enjoyed this a lot. I really have.
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. Wow.
Well, what
I'm
you
blushing,
said.
and now my wife's going to laugh at me.
She knows I'm right, though.
All right. Here's something I got to ask too about the movie. When I saw the movie, the few times that I have seen it, because I've watched it a few times, I get the same impression from this every time I watch it. And you might say no, but this is my take on this whole thing now. Not only is this movie about rock and roll, teenage rebellion, drug addiction, but I think deep down it's a love story too.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, or friendship, a true friendship that Joan and I did have. And, yes, I agree. I agree with you a lot. I do.
Yeah, it just seemed there was something special there between you two. I mean, he's had something very special, and it's like you guys were definitely like the Bonnie and Clyde together.
Yeah, well, you know, if it wouldn't have been for Joan, I mean, you know, it'd have been really rough for me out there because I was so homesick. And, of course, being a twin, you know, I've been connected to my twin sister for all my life until I went on tour, and that was hard. So I went through a serious homesickness. But, you know, Joan has always been an extremely loving friend, and she's a good person. So, you know, and unfortunately, I think had Lita Lita's ex-husband really gave her the real lowdown on Lita participating instead of trying to keep her out of this film like he did, it would have been a different movie. But
yeah.
they could only do what they could with what they had to work with, and that was my story.
So I'm going to take it then from what you're saying. Is that probably the major reason why we never saw the Runaways reunion after the movie?
No. Well, yeah. You mean Lita's marriage? You mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, like, was her ex-husband? You're saying like her ex-husband was kind of a big reason for her not to really participate in the movie with you guys, behind it,
right.
like, helping make the movie. Was that also a reason why you guys didn't formally get together to do a reunion?
Well, yeah, Lita was basically shut away from the world. She escaped that marriage, and
yeah, it seemed like they were in Hawaii, was it?
No, in the Caribbean.
Okay,
but
even worse.
she literally, what a brave woman. I mean, she planned her escape, and she made it happen. It took her months to do it, but she did it, and he held her back, and for 17 years.
It's funny too, because he actually contacted me. I guess it was maybe 3-4 years ago. She was on tour with Queensryche, and would come out and do a few songs with them. And I had videotaped her few songs when they came to Philly. And I had put it up on YouTube, and he sent me an email that he wanted copies of the footage because he wanted to put it up on her page and all and use it.
Well, I've never met him. I did speak to him on the phone back when Lita was turning 40 because I wanted to fly out there and for her birthday and surprise her. This was something like 17 years ago. I know it was her 40th birthday, and he didn't make me sound too welcome. But regardless, I mean, Lita is back, and her live album that's coming out next month is The Bitch Is Back. And
nice.
I'm very excited. It's a live album, and, she's so... When you've been through hell and back like she has, I mean, she just has this solace about her. It really couldn't have gotten any worse than what she's been through. And now she just enjoys every moment. But she's got a foundation, Parental Alienation Foundation that she created, and which is really important that congressmen, right up to the president, need to help fix this, because it's. Can you imagine not being allowed to see your children for years?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's absolutely disgusting, and to me, it's illegal. And I feel that parents that do that need to be put in jail. But anyway, so we've got this wonderful single coming out in December. She's got her live album coming out next month, and Lita and I are talking about doing a reunion of sort, and we've reached out to Joan now, so we're just waiting to have a little talk and see, if she'd like to do it with us. But we are going to do something, because we have to. The fans want it, and the fans are everything. So, fingers crossed it'll happen.
It's got to happen. I mean, it's there. The time is now for this to happen.
I agree. Now Lita and I are in, so let's see if Joan is up for it, and I hope she is. But I absolutely agree with you that it will happen eventually. And there you go.
That's what I say. 2 reunions are definitely going to happen. It's going to be you guys getting back together, and I don't care what anybody tells me and whatever they say, but the original Guns N' Roses, I've been saying for 15 years now, they are just milking everybody until that day, and they're going to get back together, and they're going to rape everybody for the outrageous ticket prices, and people will pay it, because it's going to be the reunion that everybody's waited 3 decades for.
Well,
just like you guys.
I hope Axel's listening because I agree. I think that would be great.
Well, all right, so you're going to be coming out here onto the East Coast, kicking off in New York, November 6th at the Gramercy Theater, and then you're going for, was it 10 days you said?
Yeah, we're doing five shows back to back, taking a day off and then doing another 5 shows, and really looking forward to it. I really am. It's going to be a blast. And sometimes I come out before I go on, but most of the time it's right after. And I sign all the collectibles people bring, take pictures with everyone. It's just my way to say thank you for hanging in there with us and all these decades, and some new fans, just to say thanks to them. And, it's my way to say thanks.
Yeah, it's awesome. To be able to do that nowadays is so cool. Like, you would never think, back 30 years ago you weren't able to do that. 20 years ago you weren't able to do that. And nowadays it's great to have people like yourself be able to go see them perform, relive the great memories, and then be able to meet them afterwards finally.
Oh, well, you know what? I love it as much as they love it because these are just such great people. And I owe them so much. I really do, because I really thought the Runaways had been forgotten, especially when Madonna was taking credit for being the first person to wear a corset on stage. I went, God, she's got to remember me. She can't be that uneducated in music. But I kind of thought, wow, we did all that for nothing, and the fans made sure that wasn't true. And it means so much to me when people come down and and make it possible for me to even come and play. It's great, and I love all of them. I really do, and I'm so grateful.
Now, speaking of being a fan, how about yourself as a fan? The person that really changed your life and put you all through this situation was David Bowie. Did you ever get a chance to meet David Bowie?
I did, at the Rathskeller in Boston in 1976. He was there with Iggy Pop and Steven Tyler, and they came backstage, and I was shaking in my 6-inch platform boots.
Nice.
And he was wearing a English cap and sunglasses and a scarf around his neck, like a wool scarf, and the place was just sold out to the rafters, where the sweat was literally, the condensation on the pipes above you just were dripping down like rain in that place. And it was one of those magical nights that I can remember it like it was yesterday. Just some amazing memories. And I don't know how old you are, but I'll tell you the 70s music was just the best time to be a teenager. You sound awfully young.
No, I'm 43.
Okay, well, you were just in the heels of it, yeah.
Put it this way. I started listening, of course, naturally, Kiss, probably when I was like 6 or 7. But I remember going, at the time to your local record store, or at the time it was like J.C. Penney. And I think I told this story when I met Sylvain from the New York Dolls. Whenever I remember, it's like scarred in my memory. Walking into that record department in J.C. Penney's, and the first New York Dolls album was always sitting right in the front, and I used to be so scared of it because I was like, are they guys? Are they girls? And I was so freaked out. I remember
the cover so well, and boy, oh boy, you got to pat the people on the back that made sure that album was like right at the front door. You know?
But the same thing with your guys' albums. I remember seeing your guys' albums when I was a kid in the 70s.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so you do remember. I mean, it was really a magical time. You have to agree. I mean, you've got Elton John, who was, visually, the artists like Alice Cooper, Elton John. Just almost dropped my phone. David Bowie, The Sweet. I mean, it was just, when you went to a concert, you went to, like, David Gilmour would be today, his concerts today, or Floyd the Wall. I mean, this was the norm, and Alice and Susie Quattro, and it was, it was just when you bought a ticket to see a show, you saw a real show.
Sure.
Sure.
Well, as a matter of fact, I grew up, my sister is 16 years older than me, and she was a huge David Bowie fan. So as growing up, it's all I would see or hear about was David Bowie, and we lived 2 blocks away from the Tower Theater, where he recorded one of his albums, and she worked there at the time, so she got to meet him and hang out with him, and heard the story about her hanging out with David Bowie for years.
Wow, good for her. I'd died to be able to do that. He was truly my hero, and he still is. He still is. If it wasn't for David Bowie, I don't think I ever would have been in the Runaways. I can pretty much be positive of that. Because at that age, Joan, she kind of took on the persona of Susie Quattro. I took on the persona of Bowie. Lita was into Ritchie Blackmore. And we kind of, until we knew who we were at that young age, how the heck can you be yourself when you really don't even know who you are yet? So we kind of all took on the persona of our heroes, and then slowly but surely graduated into getting more comfortable in our own skin and developed our own styles and all that. But nice. It was a great time in music, and this record that I made that Blackheart has is very 70s orientated. It's it really is for the fans of the Runaways and people that really enjoyed that kind of music and the whole sound and everything. So, I'll be excited when you hear that record one day. But until then, Lita's single coming out, the Christmas single, and then this record that I did with Kim Fowley. That'll probably be out by mid-June.
And we'll be able to get that where? iTunes?
January.
Okay. And where will that be? I guess iTunes?
Well, we'll see. It's definitely iTunes, but we'll see. Maybe we can, get a hard copies made. But, it's just about getting the music out there.
Right.
And having fun and getting out there and meeting more fans and folks and enjoying this life. What I got left of it, I really want to spend it out there with great people. And these fans are the best. They're just the best. And I think it keeps us young, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and my goodness, when my mom was my age, and I'm like I said, 54. My gosh, she was old. And I look, I really think, wow, I feel the same way as I did when I was in my early 20s, and I really don't look in the mirror and go, wow, you're an old person. I'm out there chainsaw carving, and I'm out there on stage doing what I feel I do best, and giving everybody a good show. And I think you'll have fun when you come and see me. We'll have a blast.
Cool.
We'll have a blast.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, everybody, that is Miss Cherie Currie. Can I get you to cut a quick ID for me so I can cut it up for later use?
Sure. Now, let me write this down because I've lost a piece of paper. So tell me what the ID is.
Let's see. What do you want to say? This is Cherie Currie, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Okay.
Or you can add whatever you want in there. Chainsaw Girl, Work your magic.
Hi, this is Cherie Currie of the Runaways, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Beautiful. Look at that. One take. We had Jim Florentine on, and it took him like 6 takes, and Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses, it took him a little while, too.
Well, but hey, we've been having such a great conversation that, it's one of those perfect things, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's been an honor, seriously. I'm very honored to talk to you tonight. I want to thank you so much. And we can find you, is it chainsawchick.com?
Right, CHICK, and, .com, and if anybody wants me to carve something for them, reach out. And that's it. And
you're also on Facebook.
I am. But I will say there's 100 fake. I counted probably last month there was 100 fake pages. So
whatever your fan page is, because that's how I originally contacted you, and you answered me like that night. I was
that's
like,
the right page. Yep, that's the right page. Oh,
I was
sure.
like, oh, shit.
Well, thanks. Yes, and I answer all the messages, and I keep it real.
Yes, you do. Thanks so much again, and everybody go out and see her. She'll be coming out to New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, back to New York, going up to Canada for a couple dates, out to Pittsburgh, here to Philly, down to Virginia, and then out to Arizona, and then closing it up at the Viper Room in Hollywood, California.
Wow, that just made my head spin.
I only had to read it. You have to do it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks
again.
All right,
take care. Yep.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Miss Cherie Currie of the Runaways. She's a legend now. You got to admit, she's a legend.
You're a little girl.
I'm a little girl?
Dude, you were all giddy and all happy.
Listen to you.
Dude, what? That was funny listening to you mark out.
Hey. Come on, dude, seriously. She's a legend. She is.
Oh, there's no denying it. I mean, you look at that band in itself. I mean, that's just legendary, period.
Look, a bunch of 15, 16, and 17-year-old girls go out and form a band. They're signed in the 70s to a major label and end up
and
going
they all
and
go on to
basically
success.
Yeah, well, Lita and Joan go on to huge success in the 80s and 90s, and today they're still out there kicking out records and kicking out the jams. And you got Cherie, who wrote a book, which was turned into a movie about the Runaways. Now then she went to acting, does a movie with Jodie Foster, and now she's chainsawing. I mean, come on. Would you picture her? I mean, seriously, look at her. Would you picture her with a chainsaw?
No, when you were telling me, I was just like blown away by that.
Yeah, dude, seriously. Anyway.
I would really pop if she puts on the big apron and the leather mask when she does it.
You're all wrong.